Google Ads Agency Academy Part 12, Conversion Tracking Best Practices, right? So in this, I just kind of go with some basic stuff on how to actually accurately, track conversions inside the account. We'll have a more how-to section later on in the course, how to do actually thank you page tracking, GTM tracking, if people want that. However, I just want to kind of go more theory-based and macro-based, kind of showing you, what to do and why to do that, just so you don't start doing stuff the wrong way. I've seen a lot of issues on the conversion tracking side. Most accounts that I still audit to this day, even from larger agencies or in-house teams, struggle with conversion tracking. And it's usually the first thing I want to look at to make sure, is this data accurate? Can I actually make informed decisions from this data? Because you're going to be shocked at how many times I go into accounts and then I can't make use of any of this data because it's inaccurate. So I need to do other forms of IDing, or creating stories with that bad data in mind. So please, please, please do this correctly. It'll save you a bunch of time. This will how you're going to show your clients and your brands you work with how much money you're making them, how many leads you're getting them, et cetera, right? So I'm really going to make sure you understand how to do this properly. And it's not that hard. You just got to think about it from a more macro view first. And then the tactical stuff is very easy to implement once you understand that. So the first thing I want to kind of go over is macro versus micro conversion. So there's two different types of conversion actions. And again, why are there two types and why do we use these two types, right? So one is to have more data to make decisions off of. That's yourself. Kind of just have more data to piece together a story, kind of make an informed hypothesis of what you want to do or what tests you want to run. And also more data for Google to optimize with, or smart bidding, right? And at the same time, you can then track engagement levels off of the buyer's journey, kind of see, okay, it takes them this long to do this action, takes them this long to do this action. Where is there a big disconnect? Is there a huge drop off from add to cart to actually start checkout? Is there a huge drop off from the starting checkout to the actual buying experience, right? Or having a phone call if it's more lead gen or booking a call, right? You can just accurately track that sales cycle a lot better with real world data and not guess and think, oh, I'm just, I'm not getting purchases, I'm not getting leads. Well, where in that funnel are people dropping off? And this is where we can actually track that. And major note on that is we look at hard actions, right? So don't do vanity metrics like scroll depth, time on site, bounce rate. Those are good indicators, but those are not true actions and true hard engagement metrics that we want to look at. We want to look at actual, things they must do to then move down the funnel into the buyer journey, right? So keep that in mind. And now what is the difference here, right? So what are macro conversions, right? Primary conversion actions that directly contribute to your main objective. On the e-com side, that could be a purchase. On the lead gen side, that could be a book call, right? If you want to get it, and you can also get customer information offline as well. But main thing, it could be a purchase and book call. They're usually the main ones for each industry. Then on the micro conversion side, right? That's a secondary conversion actions that directly contribute to people completing your main macro action, right? So for e-com, if our main action is purchase, add to carts or begin checkout would be your next level up for that micro conversion. Ideally, you have both. And then for the lead gen side, that could be an opt-in for a lead magnet to then book a call, or it could be watching 50% of the video, the VSL, to book a call. And again, opt-in, you'd rather have both of those, right? And then when does a micro conversion become a macro conversion action? So if again, this is more of an advanced thing here and not something everyone should do, but in the right situation, the right scenario, this has made or break some accounts that I've worked with when we can't really, meet the smart bidding threshold of 30 to 50 conversion actions per 30-day period. And then we need more conversions. And let's say it's a smaller account, longer sales cycle, we're just not getting that. Then you can use a micro conversion action as your main macro, aka primary conversion action, and allow Google to actually go off of that. So if you're working on smaller accounts or a new build, right, and you cannot meet that 30 plus conversions per 30-day period, I'd highly suggest adding a micro conversion as a primary action. So that could be, hey, we're only getting 10 book calls a month, and smart bidding is not really working well with that. Try manual doesn't do as well either. What can we do here? That would be a great scenario to either add, opted in as a conversion action, kind of see if, we're getting 100 opt-ins a month with only 10 book calls. Well, there's 100 things that Google can optimize for, and that should be theoretically, if you get more opt-ins, you should get more book calls, depending on your sales cycle, and there's a whole can of worms with that. But it's a very advanced technique that can save a lot of accounts if you kind of think about it properly and use this properly to have Google, bidding well and kind of optimizing well off the algorithm. And then pro tip, if you do that, which again, I'm not saying you should do that right away, you should create custom columns with your true macro conversion actions to save real-time data easier, right? Because your CPL, your conversion rate will all be messed up if you have multiple conversion actions like that. So you want to make sure you're tracking exactly what you want to track there. Next is how to add new primary conversions or switch primary conversions, right? So let's say you come into an account and you notice, oh my gosh, they're double tracking, or let's say they're not tracking nearly enough, they're double tracking, whatever, right? You never want to do a hard switch without having optimized data in an action already. And what do I mean by this, right? Let's say you were tracking something, but it was like, say, it was opt-in, it wasn't actually a book call. Well, you wouldn't want to just straight delete that, or you wouldn't want to move that straight opt-in to a secondary without having that primary, aka book call, with some data and with some actual time to learn what is that conversion action, what audience is there, how does Google actually work with that conversion. So ideally, you want to make sure if you're going to do a switch, you want to have 30 to 60 days, even more if in a good way, but usually not. Usually 30 days is enough. You want to ideally have that as a secondary action. So it's not being optimized towards, but it is creating data in the back end and tracking that in real time. So when you do to switch, let's say in a month from now, you have 100 of the old events, but now you have 50 of the new actual opt-ins, right? And now that's when you switch it, you still have a 3 to 5 day learning period from switching and conversion action, but Google already has back-end data of what that conversion action means to you in real-time data in your campaigns because you were tracking that in the back end before you switched. So just a tip there. And then, can I use GA4 conversion as my primary action? Now, the simple answer is no. There are times where you can use it, and there are times where you should. For the sake of this, beginner level course and stuff like that, I don't want to get into that. Most time though, keep it in mind, like, hey, no, GA4 should never be a primary event. It is good to have a secondary event though. Just make sure if you see any trends or a significant disparity in track data on the Google ad side, but try to not have it as a primary event. A couple of reasons why. GA4 may not capture all conversions, right? Example would be view through or engage view conversion. So if you're bigger on the video side, this can be bigger for you. There's gonna be import delays, limited cross-device tracking, and limited use of offline conversions. Again, that's more important than the lead gen side. But however, those are just the main stuff, and we can get more into that later on, and we can argue about that. But usually keep that as a secondary action only. Do an actual Google Ads conversion event as your primary. And the three main methods to track are hard code it with GTA scripts, which is putting it into the website theme directly. That's my preferred way to do it. That's how I was taught the most and how I still do it. You can also go through Google Tag Manager, which that's an easy way as well. It gets a little advanced with the data layers you have to do and the variables there. However, it is a good way to learn. Just a little bit easier than the code. You don't have to require hard, website code access from a client sometimes. Or you can use a CMS plugin like direct Shopify integration with Google Shopping, and it'll automatically create one for you. Usually I always have this as a secondary action as well. I prefer to either do one of these just so I know exactly what's going on, how it's firing, make sure there's no duplication, no fake revenue, all the good stuff that I want to make sure when I take on a new account and audit it, I want to make sure I'm doing it properly. So that is it for just the best practices, and see you in the next video.